Will the market go up or down? Should you lock in or float? Find out this and more with Master of the Markets, hosted by Barry Habib of MBS Highway. Brought to you by Paramount Residential Mortgage Group.
Welcome to another edition of Master of the Markets. I'm Barry Habib, and MBS Highway is created exclusively for NMP TV, and it's brought to you by our good friends at PRMG, because they're working for your best interest. It was an exciting week last week. You know, we told you before that Omicron would wind up wreaking some havoc in the marketplace. Sure enough, it did. Cases in the U.S., found in San Francisco, New York, other places. And we don't know too much about this, but we do know it has escaped even triple vaccines. So is the severity less? This is going to determine the direction of the markets, and we're going to get more data on this over the next couple of weeks. Now, last week was Jobs Week, and it was very interesting to see how these numbers played out. First, we got the ADP numbers, and the ADP numbers show that we had a little over 500,000 jobs created. That was in the private sector on payrolls. That looked pretty good. And then we did get initial jobless claims, and the initial jobless claims numbers were also pretty darn solid. But then we got the big report. Friday, we got the BLS jobs number, and it was expected to be kind of like ADP, about 500,000 jobs, but it was only 210,000 job creations. Now, we got some positive revisions from the past couple of months of about 80,000. So it was a big miss, but not as bad as initially reported. But here's the thing. When you take a look at the household survey, which is a different type of survey looking at supposedly the same thing. So let's break that down first. So the number I just told you is the business survey. They survey businesses, and a big part of that is businesses that are born. It's called the birth-death ratio. Businesses that are new businesses, and businesses that are now closed. It takes the assumed amount of employees for each and either adds them or subtracts them as jobs. So they have to do some modeling here. It's very difficult. You know, we got 160 million people here in the labor force. It's hard to account for all of them month to month. So this report, as I said, showed 210,000 jobs. Now, then there's the household survey. And this is actual phone calls or people that get reached out to. 60,000 of them are surveyed. And this survey of 60,000, obviously, it can have flaws as well, but it showed about 1.13 million jobs created. That's a pretty big difference to 210,000. You're looking at the same thing, right? One survey says 1.13 million, the other says 210,000. That's a pretty big disparity. Now, the unemployment rate that we get comes from the household survey. The unemployment rate dropped to 4.2%. It was at 4.6, dropped all the way to 4.2. Listen, that's good news. We'll take it. So which one do you believe? Well, I think you have to lean more towards the household survey and maybe kind of where ADP was in the household. Because remember, we're not seeing as much businesses opening or closing as we're seeing people re-enter the labor force, come back to work. Again, Omicron is going to be a wild card, but people coming back to work and filling positions that are needed in existing businesses leads us to believe that that household survey is probably more accurate. And that's why bond prices last week, which had a rough week, continued to the downside on Friday. This week, we've got a 10-year note auction, and with the 10-year Treasury yield having been reduced to below 150, at least for now, we don't know if the appetite's going to be as strong. And then on Friday, boy, expect inflation numbers to rise. So we have to be careful here. It's quite possible that that 10-year starts to move towards 170 once again next week, once we see inflation, as well as perhaps less of an appetite for that 10-year and some more digestion that the jobs market for now is very hot, but then Omicron could be a big wild card. You've got to get through and navigate these waters because it's really important to be able to explain this to your customer. Also, the Fed, as we enter next month, will be changing its makeup to become a little more hawkish. Does that mean that they accelerate the tapering and buy less at a faster pace? This is possible. And in addition to that, do they actually think about raising rates in 2022? A lot to unpack and a lot to unfold, and this will all impact how you advise your customers. Stay on it with MBS Highway. One other note here, I'm finally going to be taking a few weeks off. Dan Habib, who's terrific, will be filling in. Look forward to hearing his comments next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Be sure to click on the link below for your free 30-day MBS Highway trial.